Welcome to VBite, where we discuss our life experiences from the ups to the down to everything in between. Long time no see, everyone. My name is Mario. Welcome to episode 12, I think. It's been a long time since I actually recorded the episode. Since I just came back from Europe, actually, I think 2 weeks ago. So, still slowly trying to settle in. So it's a little bit hard to actually recording stuff these days, and I also had a lot of plan and just a lot of goals that I set for myself. So one of them is I'm actually training for running a half marathon for the first time in my life this coming January of 2024 at the Rose Bowl half marathon. So most of my friends are running 5K, but given I've ran 5K there before, I didn't actually want to repeat it. So I'm actually forcing myself to train for half marathon. So I'm actually on day 4 now. I've been running 5 miles per day. So far so good. The shoe that I ran in the beginning was Nike Joyride, and after 2 days of running, it hurt my knees quite a bit. So I bought Hoka Clifton 9 just to test it out and see. So I'll keep you guys posted how that goes. Today I mainly really want to talk about kind of my experiences from traveling in Europe and what supposedly to be a 2 weeks trip became a 3 months trip for me, which probably the longest time I've ever been away, to go on a trip, I guess. And the crazy thing about this trip also, besides Iceland, I'm actually working as well while traveling. So definitely a lot of juggling going on, and also a lot of careful planning. But also by traveling solo, I have more flexibility of what I can do and also what I wanted to do. So yeah, really want to kind of share those experiences and hoping to hear other thought as well from people who are listening. So last episode, I talked a little bit about my first month of traveling there in Europe. I was in Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Germany, and Hungary. And then I went back to UK and traveled to a city called Cornwall, which is the very west side of UK. And I traveled with friends for a weekend. I think we rented a car and then drove there. Well, the trip to Cornwall supposedly to be a 6 days, supposedly to be 6 days, but given that we didn't have a lot of time, we just basically drove there Saturday morning, and then literally come back on I think Sunday or Monday night. So it was very very short trip, but it was very fruitful because we did a lot given short amount of time, which is kind of the norm of my travel these days. And after staying in London, just taking a rest there for a little bit for 2 weeks, I think, I started on another almost a month of trip in a couple other countries. So I found a flight ticket that's really cheap to south of France in a city called Perpignan, which is a Catalonia region. And then from there I actually took the train to Barcelona, Spain, and then also went to Sevilla, southern Spain as well. And then I basically took the ferry to a city in Morocco called Tangier, and from there go to another city in Morocco called Chefchaouen and spend a few days there it was very pretty. Chefchaouen is known for like a blue town. Basically, most of the houses are blue. And I also went to like a national park that's like 45 minutes away from there. And just want to give a quick shout out of the kind of recent tragedy that happened in Morocco. Basically, there were like I think more than 2,000 people uh, that died from the earthquake there. So, yeah, praying for Morocco and hoping everyone is doing well there. And after Morocco, I actually took the ferry back to Sevilla, and then from there, I actually went to Portugal in the city of Lisbon and Porto, and then from Porto to the train back to Spain in Madrid. And then from there, I actually head to the north of Spain in two cities called San Sebastian and Bilbao. And then I flew back to London after. And yeah, so like during this whole trip here, the most challenging for me is like I basically have to wake up super early to travel in the morning and then get back to accommodation around like 2 3 p.m. And also the hardest thing about working in Spain is that even though like Portugal it has the same time zone as like UK, Spain is actually like an hour later, so I have to work. So I work in the US West Coast time, and I have to work till like 2 a.m. So I'm pretty dead every day. But right, the thought of like actually waking up early in the morning to go travel actually, that's like my driving force of like waking up super early. But after working at night until like 1 to 2 a.m., I'm like super tired every day. But it was worth it, I think. This trip was entire trip in itself. I think it was something I wanted to do for a long time, but just never execute on it. And I think the fact that initially I was just planning to be there for 2 weeks, turned out to be 3 months, was probably like not something I actually planned, but it just happened. So, and I think this is probably like the longest time that I will ever like travel solo. Cause before I actually went to Busan, Korea, which I travel solo, and then I was in Japan, which I travel solo, in Osaka, Kyoto, and Nara. And again, these two countries are very safe, and I think Europe in general is pretty safe as well. At least the countries that I've been to. And so, I guess the main question is like whether I feel anxious when traveling solo. In the beginning, maybe, but actually, like after like a week, I actually felt fine, just because I don't know. I think like the way I dress and backpacking and everything, it just feels like I didn't think people would like try to mess with me because I look so. I guess you can say like touristy, but also local at the same time. So it's kind of like, and I think knowing the language also is important. Knowing some Spanish, and I think every country that I go to, I try to learn their hello and bye in their language first, and I think that kind of helped a lot by greeting people in their languages, knowing that at least I'm trying to learn the culture and try to immerse in the culture rather than just be a tourist. So as far as pros and cons, pros definitely like, get to visit a lot of cities and countries with different culture and kind of just a different food as well. Get to try a lot of different type of food there. Cons and also pros, I think, is taking train. So I did bought EU Rail. So EU Rail is basically like a, think of it as like a pass that you can use to take a train on like X amount of days. So I actually bought 10 days worth of train, meaning like basically I can take like 10 days worth of unlimited train if it's part of the network, and I think it cost me about $459. The reason I got it in the first place is because in Norway I was visiting in the city of like Bergen, and also Oslo and a couple other cities as well. And the train from Oslo to Bergen at the time, I think it was like 120 or like 150 one way. So round trip is about 300. So the difference between that and the 10 days of EU Rail is actually not that much difference. So I just on a whim just bought that. And yeah, and then from there I actually got to learn a lot about how to use EU Rail, like how to navigate around seat reservation and whatnot. I think that's like the most not the most intuitive part, and yeah, I think after a while I get a hang of it. And yeah, but also like taking the train is fun as well. Like you get to see a lot of scenery, you get to meet like different people in the train, especially if the train is long, taking a while to like get there. But there were also times where I actually the train was super delayed, so I actually missed the connecting train and had to kind of work something out to basically get to the destination. So definitely like have to stay very flexible when it comes to traveling using train. As far as like other cons, I would say, yeah, I guess like if you work and travel, like trying to be like digital nomad, I guess like it's a little bit difficult. Before I actually did this, I thought it was like very easy. I did like similar things in London for like 3 weeks last year, but actually 3 weeks is nothing when it compares to like 3 months. So it's definitely like, taking tolls after a while. And to be fair, right, like the working in Europe using like US time zone is actually working out pretty okay. Imagine if I was in Asia, like it would be a nightmare just because like the time is flipped. And yeah, basically I have to work like from midnight to morning. I think that would be like really difficult to actually do anything on the weekdays. And as far as like how I plan the trip, like I mentioned, I think the reason, since I got like the kind of like EU rail, like a train, I have to be like very flexible where I'm going. So I usually try to plan my next destination like couple days out, and then figuring out what hostel is available and which hiking trail is nice to visit, what kind of like food or cafe to visit. I think those are like my main thing that I look for this time around. And compared to last year, I think this year I was more into not really country hopping, but more like for each country that I visit, I try to visit as many city in there as possible, so I can actually get to immerse in the like whole culture there, than just like go to one city and then hop to another country in one city and then hop another one again. So it was pretty good. I think I actually like this style of like traveling to understand the culture more than just like hopping around the countries. And I think living in a hostel is also like very fun. Uh, it wasn't like I didn't get to experience 100% fully of hostel experience this time around, just because I have to work nighttime in Europe. So that's when people like they have social events, they have games and things like that. But still, I get to actually meet quite a few interesting kind of like fellow travelers that stay in hostel. So for example, like one Germans that I met, he cycled all the way from like North Germany to the south tip of like South Germany, and he basically like camped using a hammock, which apparently from what he told me is that camping in the wild is prohibited in Germany. But if you actually just stand up a hammock, it's not considered as wild camping. So he told me it's fine. And the funny thing is, when it rains, he told me that he would just knock on like a farmer's door and basically sleep in the shed, which I thought was pretty hardcore, but somehow he made it work. And also met another girl who was trying to do the hut-to-hut hiking from Germany to Italy, and another grandpa, like 70 years old grandpa, that was able to match my pace in hiking in Oberstdorf. So it's like a German Alps location, and the hike was not easy either. It's like a moderate to like hard hike, and he was able to kind of keep up with me, and then was kind enough to actually buy me a beer, a classic, drinking beer in Germany. But yeah, of course, I mean, I'm not really like a drinking person, but I couldn't reject his request, and he was pretty nice too. So it was fun. As far as experience, I think solo traveling definitely forced me to kind of like think, maybe do a lot of problem solving on my own and not relying on others as much as possible. Just like just the process of like, okay, this is the problem. How do we go about solving it in a more logical way than emotional, I guess. Like feels very, I guess I could classify myself as like logical person, but I think like sometimes right, we can actually make decision out of impulse and it would affect how we actually make decision. But I think the fact that this trip actually taught me about how to not like not letting like small little nitty gritty things like get to me, and actually just think more about like how do I go about solving the problem, and yeah, given the problem at hand, how do I go about like approaching it, and just do it step by step. Was pretty rewarding, I think. And then so I used to hate like solo hiking, sorry, like solo traveling in general, but I think from this trip I actually start liking it more now. Of course, the cons is like I can't just order like a bunch of food by myself and finish it up by myself. Comparing, say, by traveling with friends, I have that option. Everyone can order different things and share. But I think just the flexibility of like being able to like do as many things as I want, do as little thing as I want as well, did kind of shape like how I wanted to create the experience that I wanted to experience. And so it's nice once in a while to like not having people giving any opinion of like how I travel and how I want to go travel. Just like just me and me time, and I can do whatever I want. I think that's like very rewarding in some ways. And whenever I travel with friends, I mean, I do enjoy travel with friends, but sometimes of course, like it's almost like a give or take, right? There are things that we may have to take out because right, we travel as group and have to accommodate for everyone. But traveling solo, right, is on my own time. I can basically revise my trip as I wanted. And I think the challenges for me is still definitely language, and I felt that if I can actually speak the local language fluently, it will make my life much easier, uh, compared to say like speaking like broken Spanish, plus using some hand wavy sign as well to kind of help me communicate what I want to communicate. But it was also fun doing that as well. The kind of reward is like basically I think I get to see how I guess local live their life for different country and different cities. It I probably it's probably already a broken record at this point, but every time when I go travel, it just feels like sometimes I just like appreciate being in US and living here, and there are so many things that are like so different in another country that I didn't think it was possible. But also I think another interesting thing, right, is like not everything revolve around US, and there are so many like small little things that I found to be very interesting when I travel abroad, and just even the things that local do can be very different. And a lot of cities in Europe are very walkable, so it's very different as well compared to the US. And I had to use a lot of public transportation when I was in Europe versus in US I can just drive my car to go wherever I want, so it was much easier. And as far as like favorite country, I think, well, I'm kind of biased in a way because I rank the country based on like kind of like what hiking trails were the best, so it's definitely like not. So the city will be like disadvantage of things like London may not have like a lot of hiking trail unless you actually go out to say other city up north or like west side or even the southern side of London. I think has like a better trails there. But my favorite country so far in this trip, I think I would say Iceland for sure, just because it's a small country, but there are so many things you can do there, and then the landscape is very different. Even like 15 minutes of driving, like the landscape is already different from 15 minutes here to 15 minutes another. And my second one, I think Germany. It's funny because last year when I was in Germany, I actually went to like Berchtesgaden National Park, and then this time around, I went to Oberstdorf, Germany. So I actually didn't get to visit like a big city like Munich or Berlin. I passed by using train. I was at a train station, but like I wasn't like out and about. So I don't know how it is work like traveling in those cities. But as far as like the cities I've been to thus far, which is like a little bit outskirt of more like rural area, they're actually like quite nice, and actually surprisingly like it way more than other country. My third on the list is actually Morocco, just because I think one is like the first African country that I ever visited, but also the country, well, at least the city that I visited, are heavily influenced by multiple culture, from like European culture to African culture, just like very different experience. And yeah, I get it to like basically like check out a lot of like local things to do, and I also went to the national park, I think. Just yeah, I think the experience, I can't really explain like the differences, but I think it's a good thing. I think it was fun in Morocco, and I also got to meet like few others travelers, or I guess like backpackers, right? I had like a friend that actually came from South Korea, and just out of the whim, I was traveling in Morocco for like a few weeks, and had someone that was in France, live in France, and then doing internship in Morocco, and then also someone else from Switzerland that actually was in Morocco too. And funny enough, all four of us actually share a meal together, and yeah, and share stories and kind of like, you know, what we like and what we don't like, and where we are heading to next. I think it's kind of fun to do that because everyone sort of like have their own timeline and have their own kind of thought on things that they view as, say, good or bad, interesting places to visit, and the fact that like all four of us are from different kind of background, from different country, it just gives like a very good perspective of like how people think about things. And yeah, it was really really fun doing that. And I actually want to close this by like thinking about the next destination that I want to go to. I mean, I know I just came back from the trip, but I usually already think ahead of like places I wanted to go. So I think like not really immediate, but after visiting Norway, I visited a few cities and also did the Tortunga hike, which was pretty fun. But I think in the future, if I go there again, I'll definitely try to go to further north, like Lofoten Island. From what I heard, it's like very pretty, and would love to go there to do some hiking in the summer as well. And I think main priority right now, I think will be traveling in Asia and also New Zealand. I think that's like New Zealand has been on my bucket list for a long time, so I think, and I already asked few friends and they were like interested to go. So it's just a matter of like planning it and trying to figure out when is the best time to go. But as far as like Asia, I think my first country that I really want to visit is Indonesia. I it's surprising, right? Because I'm actually from Indonesia, but I I can count with my finger how many cities I've been there. Like no more than 3 or 4 cities, and from what I research or from what I read, from what I see, I think like Indonesia has a lot to offer. There are so many islands. There's so many like things you can do, from hiking a volcano to Pink Beach to just swimming in like a blue-ish water that you can find. I think there's just so many things to do there, and I would love to kind of like backpacking from coast to coast. Just want to kind of like go back to the root and yeah, just learn more about the country that I was born in, and definitely like other Asian country like China, which I think I've been wanting to go for a while, just haven't gone. And then also during COVID, the flight ticket was like crazily expensive, but now it has come down considerably. So I think it's more affordable to visit now. And of course, there are many other countries like Taiwan, Philippines, and a couple other like Asian countries that I haven't been and haven't explored too much yet, and would love to go there someday. But yeah, but now I'm just back home, just kind of regroup and think about like what is the next steps. And yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at the moment. And also I think yeah, I have too much content right now. Just didn't have time to actually like editing the videos or even posting pictures and like Instagram reels and things like that. I'm pretty slow these days, just because yeah, after work I just have like doing the run and doing other things, and I'm just tired at the end of the day and couldn't do much. But I'm hoping to spend some time editing the video. I took so many videos when I was in Europe, and with the goal in mind that I really want to create a lot of like different episodes on YouTube so I can actually share it. So yeah, stay tuned, and yeah, follow my Instagram. You'll see a lot of content there hopefully soon. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. And if you like this content, please follow us on BeByPod on Instagram, or email us at bebypod@gmail.com, and we'll see you guys in maybe 2 weeks time.